It's gone really well. I think they've really enjoyed it, and I think they've learnt a lot, and it's been surprising how much terminology they've remembered, how many techniques they've remembered, and they all got really into the editing. They really liked that bit, and I think once they started realising that they could put a bit of music on there and some text on there, and once they got quite familiar with the technology, I think they started flying then. I think the tricky thing was to get them all comfortable and confident with the technology, which isn't hugely techy, but it's probably more than they've been used to. So,
in terms of their learning in the context of the citizenship curriculum, how successful has it been compared to more maybe traditional ways of teaching and learning?
Well, Megan assured me this morning that she now knows where Portugal was, and that Portugal wasn't a county in England, which is great. So, yeah, I think it's been really good actually. I think they've really, and the element of independent research has worked really, really well, because I just gave them some pointers and pointed them along their way, so it's been kind of a, yeah, they've done it themselves really. I think it's been great. Yeah, sometimes I think they didn't see their documentary in terms of their audience, they saw it in terms of like, oh yeah, I know where that is. So when I was watching it back with them, I kind of had to say, well, is your audience going to know where that is? You know, you've got a lovely picture of a post box there, but unless you inform your audience a little bit more, they're not going to know why you've got a post box there and what that's got to do with being European or being British, etc. So I think it was again the technical side of it and seeing it as an audience rather than them, oh, I know why that post box is there. Well, you've got to explain it. But then, was I being too sort of prescriptive? Do you know what I mean? So I think that was the thing that was the really tricky one, getting them to think in terms of explaining everything. So.
And did you witness any kind of particular examples of like critical thinking arising from the process of making the documentary compared to other ways of learning?
Yeah, generally, and I think some kids really embraced it. For example, there's one film where we were talking about what it means to be European, what it means to be British, and one group went off and interviewed their grandparents, you know, and that was quite a charming little section of their film, really. So having those processes, and I did have to keep linking them back, saying, right, okay, it's not just a film about Bartley Green, the European thing. And another group went over and said, well, you know, and went and stood next to a building site and said, well, look at how communities change. So I think that worked really well, actually. I think they understood and found it quite easy to talk about their area. And there are a few little things that they picked up about the area. For example, there's a very old little library up there which has been around since 1905. So they were quite good at picking up on that. Whether they linked it into how European we are, I'm not sure. I think the videos come across as very British, not necessarily European. There's one that's got, oh, here's some European flags, but it goes up, and great, brilliant.
And what vision of the future do we get from the films? Because obviously the focus was on how things might change in the next 100 years. But what, according to these documentaries, what will change? How does the future look?
Not much different, apparently, according to the kids. Yeah. There's one film where they do say, you know, this is, you know, look at how things changed in front of the building site, which I thought was very good. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure. They do link it in a bit, sort of, you know, will the reservoir still be here, or will it be a housing estate? But I don't know if they really, really thought about that. 100 years to a teenager, it's what does that mean? Yeah. You know, they have trouble thinking 20 years ahead at this age. So, yeah, I think that was a bit of a stretch for them, maybe. I did kind of keep pushing them towards that, but I don't know if they particularly picked up on that, to be perfectly honest.